Hello friends, day 7. All right, let's get straight into it. This one is for my overthinkers who are overdrinkers, and I know I'm an overthinker, still am. However, I managed to kick the overdrinking part. But tonight I want to talk about, as an overdrinker, when you drink more than you planned, and a way in which to reduce the guilt and kind of shift that internal dialogue, because it's not about the drinking. This is about the stuff that goes on underneath, right? The reasons why we drink versus how much we drink, how often we drink, who we drink with, all those types of things. So tonight I really want to explore kind of some inner child work, and the roots of where our negative self-talk comes from. Because I know myself, my inner child, gets desperately hurt by the feeling of feeling inadequate. I will explain further as I go through, because as I explain some of the common traits of overthinkers, you'll probably resonate with some of these, and I know I resonate with a lot of these as well. So let's talk about, when we're in the moment, we drink too much, and then the next day we always beat ourselves up and we're like, oh, I drank more than I planned, or maybe I didn't plan, maybe I just drank more than I really wanted to. And it comes with a heavy dose of self-criticism. Why do I always do this? Like, I've got no willpower. Oh, I'm such a fucking mess. That really negative Nancy, my negative Nancy, always sounds like my mother. She's got a really sharp tongue. She's really quite mean to me. And yeah, my inner child gets really hurt by that. So let's look at what's beneath that guilt. And really what overthinking comes from is deep-rooted fears, anxieties, any unresolved emotions that we might have, and, it potentially being linked to some childhood trauma. Now, don't say that lightly. I don't like to use the T word all the time, because sometimes overthinking happens and you have had a wonderful childhood. So if that resonates with you, then by all means you can, use that for yourself. But if it doesn't, hang with me a minute and let's talk about the overthinking part, even though it might not be linked to childhood for you. Let's talk about some of the common traits of overthinkers and how they relate kind of to your early life experience. Number 1, difficulty making decisions. We analyze everything, every possible outcome. We probably have an advantage column and a disadvantage column, a pros and a cons. We fear making the wrong decision because of the negative consequence. And the childhood link to that is, if you grew up in an environment where mistakes were heavily punished, difficulty making decisions because of the fear of they were going to be wrong. Number 2, chronic worry and anxiety. And I didn't think I had much anxiety, but when I stopped the overdrinking and when I really got still with myself, I noticed that I did have a vibration within me, and that was definitely anxiety that I think I'd covered over for 30 odd years. Overthinkers get stuck in loops of what if scenarios. So what if I don't what if I don't do it right? What if someone thinks this of me? The link to childhood there is growing up in a chaotic, unpredictable environment. You might have been walking on eggshells, having kind of emotionally unstable caregivers, and having this kind of your status or your the way you are, your brain stays on high alert. So it's in high danger mode all the time. So you've got this hypervigilant stuff going on. Number 3, self-doubt and low confidence. Overthinkers are constantly second-guessing themselves, fearing that they are not good enough or capable. And the link for me was, I was frequently criticised, really dismissed, compared to others, compared to my cousins, one of my cousins in particular. And I really internalised self-doubt. And when I uncovered this through trauma certification, it turned out that if you've ever done the ACE score, adverse childhood experiences, I think I've got that right, I think I was like a 7 out of 10, which is super high. And imposter syndrome is right at the top of the, when they've got there's a chart, it's right at the very top. And for me, self-doubt didn't just feel like self-doubt, it felt paralyzing. And so when I actually began to heal the relationship with myself and with my past and with my mum and with my inner child, that imposter syndrome really simmered down to just standard self-doubt, which is cool. It's still not cool, but it's cool. It kind of didn't stop me from doing new things anymore. It didn't become such a ball around, a chain and ball around my legs or my future self. And so even when I think about, I'm 48 now, but I struggled with confidence. And even though I'm an extrovert and I can portray quite easily the confidence, I still really struggled internally. I still had this really terrible kind of self-concept. And again, that hypervigilance was always there, that chaos within. So I wonder if you struggle with that too. Number 4, perfectionism, fear, failure, kind of a combination of those other two. We always we have this need that we need to do things flawlessly and avoid failure at all costs. It was interesting, I worked as a salesperson, so in my personal relationships I was terrible at this, but in my business relationships as a sales manager, I was really good at building relationships and taking big risks, or just taking risks, or walking into networking events, or walking into conference rooms, boardrooms, and I was happy to get no's. I was like, yes, I'm collecting them, let's go. But when it came to my personal life, I actually avoided failure at all costs. It was terrible. And I had this childhood link for me was love and validation. It was always conditional upon me achieving something. I did ballet, I did piano, any sports I played. I've always felt like I had to achieve, and no matter how hard I tried, I felt like I was just a failure. So I really developed perfectionism as a coping mechanism. So the alcohol on top of that was just the buffer not to feel any fear or failure or not good enough. That's where it linked in for me. And then, of course, another one is over-analysing past events. So I used to always replay my past over and over again, wondering, what if I had grown up with a different mother? What if I had grown up with my dad? Or what if I had grown up with my auntie? I always used to do that because I wished so badly that my life had been different, that my childhood had been different. And the reality is that my childhood couldn't have been different because it's already happened, it's already gone. And so when you stay stuck in that past and over-analysing it and wishing that something had have changed, that the person had have changed, that the circumstance had have changed, you're always going to be stuck in that past and always concerned about potentially what other people are thinking of you too. So I grew up with, a mum who was really unemotionally available, really, really critical of my performance, and caused me to really internalise blame. I put a lot of that blame on myself not being good enough for her. And then it linked into my adult relationships where I was always constantly concerned about how others perceived me. And really that's been the last kind of 5 years where I've worked really hard to unravel that kind of inner work that people talk about, to unravel what people think about me. Number 6 is people-pleasing tendencies. I didn't think I'd do this very often, but I do notice it from time to time. My mum had pretty bad anger issues. She used to just rage and just lash out. And so I would suppress any needs. I would just keep the peace. I was constantly worried about disappointing her, right? And so I really struggled. I mean, as a kid, you probably don't even know how to set boundaries. But I remember when I was 14, and that was at the point where I just said it, enough is enough. Like, this is just not right. This is not going to happen. So I really and I didn't do it in the right way, but I was 14 years old. I had no other capacity to shift the relationship. So I did something that, that mum, basically I raged as well. She was raging and then I raged, and then two people raging. Well, you can imagine what happens there. So I didn't know how to set boundaries, but as I got older, I also didn't know how to set boundaries. And again, the last 5 years' work has been about setting boundaries in my professional life, in my personal life, Resetting boundaries, I think, is another one. I think sometimes we think we've got boundaries in place, but the reality is we actually forgot to tell the other person. So then we have these hidden expectations that no one can actually ever get right, and we always are the ones who end up disappointed because they haven't met our expectations, or they had no idea that they were under a boundary. Oh, hilarious. Human beings, hey? Another one is over-reliance on logic. So I always relied on logic, and I was really disconnected from my emotions. So if you're an overthinker, you will rationalize logic versus feeling. And that is a really hard thing, because the logical thing seems right, but when we really tap into what we're feeling, feelings are what create our behavior. Feeling is what the next thing is. So you've got thought creates, a thought can create a feeling, an emotion. The emotion is energy is emotion in action. So that is driving your behavior. And then, of course, your behavior creates a result. So if your emotions were dismissed as a kid, and it wasn't safe for you to express who you were, it wasn't safe for you to cry, stop crying. It's not a big deal. If you do that again, if you don't stop crying, I'm gonna send you to your room. I'm going to smack you. You're going to be grounded. So you will learn to really suppress your emotions, and you rely on what is logical, because that makes sense. Your brain is able to rationalize, versus emotion, which feel really, really awkward if you have never experienced them before. And again, the last 5 years for me has been all about emotional intelligence. I thought I was a pretty smart person, and the one area of my life that I really felt that I let myself down on was emotions. I didn't know how to deal with my own emotion, let alone other people's emotions. And I think about this one time, my son was about 8 years old, and he had a very hot temperament. So he had a little meltdown one day on the beach in front of a whole heap of people, and I had no idea how to deal with it. And I literally just wanted the beach to swallow me up, because I had no idea what was going on for him, because I didn't understand it for myself. And I think as a parent, I really wish that I had have learnt more about my emotions and how to regulate, or just how to feel them. And this is part of what I do as a coach, and what I do as in this particular program, Stop Overdrinking, is all about emotion. Is really tapping into not how much alcohol you're drinking, but it's the reasons why, what's driving that behavior of overdrinking, and what's driving that behavior of overthinking, and those two things being linked, and it all comes back to emotion. So healing from overthinking, and especially if it's got a link to any kind of childhood trauma, whether it be at school, it might not even be your parents, it could be significant teachers in your life, or mentors or role models who helped you with those kind of behaviors that helped you create this overthinking behavior. Is here's the ways in which I've changed my relationship with my overthinking and my overdrinking, and that simply is inner child work, recognizing and reparenting the parts of me that still really seeked safety and approval. The next one was mindfulness and breath work, calming my nervous system through deliberate and intentional conscious breath work and breathing and stillness, and learning to be present and have the kind of moment awareness. Self-compassion, that is a huge one. If you have that negative self-talk, at the beginning I was talking about my inner critic sounding like my mum, straight away I'm judging myself, I'm beating myself up, I'm not validating how I'm feeling, I'm dismissing my emotions, I suppose. So I've really had to learn self-compassion. through reparenting my inner child and creating safety for her. Releasing perfectionism is another one. Practicing thoughts around being good enough instead of striving for these like really unattainable standards. I once heard, someone say, who sets your benchmark? It's like setting a high jump. Who set that for you? And in my head, I remember saying, like my mum did. My mum set that, that expectation or that high jump, that boundary. And I'm like, was blown away again. Always, like most of my aha moments have all come from coaching. Was that you're an adult now, Laura? You can actually set that boundary for yourself. You can set that benchmark. You can bring that down, and then you know what? And then once you bring that down, then you can jump it, and then you can put it up, and then you can jump, and then you can put. Like you are the one that controls that boundary or that expectation. I was like, what? How? What is going on? And yeah, my standards are my standards. They're not anyone else's, except I forgot, right? So this is all about remembering that we can set our own standards and that we are good enough exactly where we are. Whether we're overthinking, whether we're overdrinking, we don't have to change who we are. It's just learning and understanding and creating awareness around why we overthink and why we overdrink. And the two of them together, right? It's like the peas in a pod. So yeah, when you drink more than you planned, it's not a moral failing. It's not a character flaw. It's just a signal. And often that signal is just connected to a part of you that's been there for a long time. It's connected to potentially a part of you that, is your inner child, the one that wants to say something, that has something to say. But of course, you're so busy drowning out that noise with the overthinking and the overdrinking that you can't hear her. And it's really tough on our inner children when they don't feel heard. Yeah, but it's not really our adult self that is controlling the narrative on that. It really is going to be our inner child. So you'll hear things like, it'll sound like an echo of the past. Things you've heard, things you've felt, things you've believed as a kid. You're too much, you can't be trusted, you always ruin things. You're not like such and such, you can't ever pass your grades. Like it's relentless, right? Relentless. So when you're tired, when you're stressed, when you're emotionally raw, emotionally depleted, these old beliefs can sneak back in really, really quickly. And that's because they are learned. They are the ways in which we have learned to numb, distract, or to perform. And we just simply reach for the familiar, which is the drink. That is the thing that just takes the edge off, just helps us, just lax back into the day and not have to deal with anything. So it's a little bit like head and sand stuff. Through trauma-informed healing, we can understand that negative coping isn't about weakness. It's just about survival strategies. Like our nervous systems are so good at recognizing that as a survival mechanism. So you are not inherently flawed, my friend. You did not pour a drink because you were broken. You did not pour a drink because you weren't enough, or you're not worthy. Like none of that is true. You poured a drink simply because there's a younger part of you who didn't know any other way to self-soothe. And self-soothing is one of the mechanisms through grounding work, through breath work, that you can self-soothe yourself, right? Is to create safety and say, hey, I'm okay. Like we've got this. we can do hard things. And I totally need a tissue because my nose is running and I'm not going to pick my nose alive. All right, there you go. Imperfection, right? We show up and we do these things even when we're traveling. All right, so tonight's practice was really just about what I've been sharing with you the last seven nights, is all around reframing the ritual of picking up a drink, and is simply by using the pause, feel, connect method, just to meet our inner child for a second, right? So we're just going to just pause for a second. You can pop your 2 feet on the ground, And we're just going to pause. You can pop both hands on your heart space. And then you can breathe in long, slow, and simply say to yourself, I'm safe, I'm here now. And then you can feel, and you can ask yourself, what am I really feeling? Is it a bit of sadness? Is it rejection? Is it overwhelm? Do I feel unseen? And connect with your inner child, however old she is. She might be young, 6 or 7 or 8. Maybe she's a little bit older, 13, 14. You've got a teenager in you as well. And just ask, what did I need in that moment when I was overdrinking, when I was overthinking? What did I need? And then you can offer to yourself that exact thing, what you needed in that moment. Offer it to yourself like you would a child you love. So if you've got a niece or nephew, if you've got a son or a daughter, or grandson, grandbabies, niece, nephew, cousins, anyone, think about a child that you love and what would you offer to that child. And that is the exact same thing that we do by reparenting our inner children, is that we get to change the narrative on how we overthink now, on how we overdrink, on our behaviours, and it's by connecting. Connecting is the most important part of this whole process. And it's about healing the relationship that you have with yourself more so than it is about the alcohol. It's healing the relationship you have with alcohol and healing the relationship that you have with yourself. So my friends, this really isn't about being perfect. This is just all about being present. And every time you choose compassion over criticism, you rewire the pattern. You show your inner child, like, we don't punish ourselves anymore. We listen, we love, and we learn. And that, my friends, is the path to lasting change. So if this spoke to a part of you tonight, I'd love to offer you a gift. I've got a five midweek drink swaps called Sober and Satisfied download. Just DM me the word soul or send me a heart emoji or anything, and I'll send it to you. No strings attached, just DM me and I can pop that through for you. I've also got a 5 Rethink Your Midweek Drink challenge coming up on the 18th of May. And also, if you want to skip the queue, you can work with me straight away. I've got a Stop Overdrinking a 90-day program. I can send you all the details for that one. So reach out. Other than that, I will be back. We have another 9 days to go. So another 9 topics every day up until the 18th of May. So thank you for being here, my friends. And if you've got any questions, please feel free to reach out. All right. Take care. Bye.